You may be seated. That's some good music today. Thank you, choir. Thank you, praise team. And thank you, Ruth Ann, our new organist. Please greet Ruth Ann in the next few weeks as we get to know her and enjoy her gifts. Thank you again for being here. So today is a great story. It's about the demon-possessed man who was set free of all his travail by Jesus. And we know this story, but it's actually a really interesting, complicated story with a lot going on. It's recorded in all three Gospels, and there's some interesting hints in the other two Gospels as we take it from Mark chapter 5, verses 1 through 20. Let's get that up on the thing, and we'll follow along. This comes immediately after the calming of the storm. They went across the lake to the region of the Gerasenes. When Jesus got out of the boat, a man with an impure spirit came from the tombs to meet him. This man lived in the tombs, and no one could bind him anymore, not even with a chain. For he had often been chained hand and foot, but he tore the chains apart and broke the irons on his feet. No one was strong enough to subdue him. Night and day among the tombs and in the hills, he would cry out and cut himself with stones. When he saw Jesus from the distance, he ran and fell on his knees in front of him. He shouted at the top of his voice, "What do you want with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? In God's name, don't torture me." For Jesus had said to him, "Come out of the man, you impure spirit." Now, Matthew's account says, "Have you come to torture us before the time?" That'll become important a little bit later, the kairos, the appointed time. Jesus asked him, "What is your name?" And the man answered, "My name is Legion, for we are many." And he begged Jesus again and again not to send them out of the area. Luke's account says not to send them into the abyss. A large herd of pigs was feeding on the nearby hillside. The demons begged Jesus, "Send us among the pigs. Allow us to go into them." And so Jesus gave them permission, and the impure spirits came out of him and went into the pigs. The herd, about 2,000 in number, rushed down the steep bank into the lake and were drowned. Those tending the pigs ran off and reported this in the town and countryside, and the people went out to see what had happened. When they came to Jesus, they saw the man who had been possessed by the legion of demons sitting there, dressed and in his right mind, and they were afraid. Those who had seen it told the people what had happened to the demon-possessed man, and they told about the pigs as well. The people began to plead with Jesus to leave their region. Jesus was about to get into the boat, and the man who had been demon-possessed begged to go with him, but Jesus did not let him and said, "Go home to your own people and tell them how much the Lord has done for you and how he has had mercy on you." So the man went away and began to tell in the Decapolis how much Jesus had done for him, and all the people were amazed. This is the word of the Lord. Wow, 2,000 pigs. Can you picture it? That's a lot of bacon. I don't know how you see pigs, but I went to college at UC Davis, the university farm that was founded as an ag school from Berkeley. And between the dorms and the engineering building, where I did most of my studies, sat the pig barns and research dairy. Now, late September, I can just let you imagine what the smell was like. Just take a minute and think about it. Well, I was walking through this, there was only one path. You went right between the research dairy and the pig barns. The only way you could get from the dorms to the engineering building without going way around. I'm walking with a friend from Kansas, and I complained about the smell. It was a particularly hot, muggy day. And he takes a big breath, and he goes, "Oh, no, that's the smell of money." Remember, he's from Kansas, okay? And that's part of their economy. And so he's made his peace with the stink. And that was a lot fewer than 2,000 pigs. So in this story, whatever else we might conclude, that's a tragic waste of bacon. Oh. Now, we've seen Jesus cast out demons before, but this account breaks all the records. Not one, not seven, but a legion of demons. Anybody know how many is a legion? It's around 6,000. At first, this might just seem like another deliverance story, right? But nothing in the Gospels is trivial. Remember that. And the sequence of events here is startling, to say the least. But details, situation, context, local culture, and norms, these matter throughout all of Scripture, and nowhere any more than right here. And of course, there are the pigs. All this happened on the southeast corner of the Sea of Galilee, part of an area known loosely as the Decapolis, or 10 cities. This was a Gentile area since the time of the divided kingdom, about 930 BC. Hippos was the nearest city, at which was located in Jesus' time a Roman citadel and garrison with the infamous 10th Legion in residence. Legion, right? My name is Legion. The 10th Legion, known as the Legion of the Boars, gets better, had earned its reputation for being wild and ruthless. It comprised about 5,600 infantry, some 500 cavalry. A full Roman legion might also include up to 4,000 more auxiliary who were accompanying the legionnaires, acting as arms bearers, squires, pages, furriers, cooks, servants, you name it. Oh, and before you feel too sorry for the pigs, those 2,000 pigs were very likely destined for the barbecue. Feeding 10,000 Roman soldiers takes a lot of bacon. Now, all this to say, this military unit was well acquainted with the Jews, and the Jews were well acquainted with them. In the time of Herod the Great, 37 BC, the 10th Roman Legion fought alongside Herod's own army to liberate Judea from the Parthians and the Hasmonean king Antigonus. During the first Jewish war, this is after Jesus, this is 66 to 73 AD, the 10th Legion was deployed under Vespasian, emperor, and Emperor Titus to crush the Great Revolt, as they called it. They famously besieged, breached, and destroyed Jerusalem in 70 AD, tore the temple down stone by stone, leaving nothing remaining. And upon this remains, they built a new citadel, which they occupied all the way into the 3rd century, this same legion. And at the site of the altar of this new citadel, they erected a statue of their mascot, a wild boar, a pig in the temple. You didn't think they knew what they were doing? Oh, yes, they did. Later, during the siege of Masada, led by Commander Flavius Silva, the 10th Legion built the massive circumvallation wall and assault ramp to capture the mountain fortress of Masada. Some of you who visited Israel have been there. That was the Jews' last stand. If you've never seen the Masada site, it's really interesting. All this to say, this was definitely Gentile territory, and of a nature decidedly inimical to their Jewish neighbors. Though some Jews might have resided in the area, this area was far more accommodating to the Roman rule and the Hellenistic influence than was Judea. Then Jesus decided to direct his disciples to put in at such a location, even after the storm at sea, is not coincidental. Jesus here is leading his followers into successive levels of chaos, uncertainty, and undoing, and also into successive levels of missional engagement from Jerusalem to Judea to Samaria and to the ends of the earth, taking the gospel to every nation, people, tribe, and tongue, and that includes Gentile territory. That includes even Roman citizens, Roman soldiers. And as we saw from last week, we'll see even more next week, into successive levels of understanding Jesus' authority over the physical reality with the storm, over the spiritual reality with the demons, and even over life and death, as you'll see in next week's story. Jesus' authority is absolute. And his is not the authority of mere might, though Jesus is indeed powerful in every aspect of the word. And it's not nearly the authority of the law, though Jesus, as the Word become flesh, he literally is the law. Nor even of divine right of position. He is, after all, King of kings and Lord of lords. But his authority does not depend on incantations, military battles, tests of strength, rhetorical arguments, or diplomatic negotiations. His is author authority. Talked about last time I was up here. Author, authority. He is the Word become flesh. And the word there is logos, from which we get words like geology and biology. It's the sense of things. It's the order of things. It's the understanding of things. And that is over and against the chaos. Paul says all things subsist and cohere in him. Jesus is what holds it all together. And his authority is not exercised with a sword, but simply with a word. Now let's talk about this beleaguered man. It's difficult to even imagine his travail. The locals who were afraid of him bound him hand and foot, consigned him to the tombs as an outcast. So afflicted was he that he roared like an animal and cut himself with stones. Many might seek to correlate his affliction with some kind of mental illness, and while that might not be totally illegitimate, it would, I think, be too simplistic. There's more going on here. Keys to a correct understanding of his plight are found in the full context of this account. The location, Gentile territory, inherently posing the risk for a Jew of ceremonial uncleanliness. His immediate surrounding, the tombs, again, the place of the dead, fraught with uncleanliness. Nearby are the pigs. They're the very symbol of uncleanness. And finally, the unclean spirits, not one, not a dozen, but a legion. A legion. Like the 10th legion, the site and symbol of Judean oppression was just a few miles up the road. No wonder this man is screaming in agony. No wonder that he has to be chained, cast out, separated, even from his Gentile countrymen. And for these visiting Jews, just look at the levels of uncleanliness. Gentiles, pigs, tombs, spirits, Romans. This man is unclean without, around, upon, and within, in every way that you can consider. Already an unworthy outsider, this man is also socially, psychologically, and spiritually eviscerated. The people of the surrounding area were right to be afraid of him. Now, whether he's in control of himself enough to do so, or if the demons drive him to it, he runs to meet Jesus. And when the demonic meets the divine, he falls prostrate before him. Now, the man does not likely know who Jesus is, but the demons recognize Jesus immediately. And their form of address, Jesus, Son of the Most High God. This was particularly relevant given the pagan surroundings. They recognized Jesus as God above all the gods of the pagans. The Romans, remember, had a pantheon of the consensus of the 12, but they recognized thousands of deities, and even the God of Israel, up until the time, shortly after this, where the God of Israel had become proscribed and his followers persecuted for daring to claim that their God was the one true God. The demons, however, already knew this. The demons recognize, understand, and yet still resist. As James said, the demons believe and shudder. Interestingly, I think the demons themselves are as beleaguered as the man they possess. What do you want with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? They shouted. In God's name, what do you love this? In God's name, don't torture me. In Matthew's account, have you come to torture us before the appointed time? See, they know their fate, but they also know that the time of reckoning for them is not yet. When Jesus asked them, what is your name? They replied, my name is Legion, for we are many. And the direct connection to the legion just a few miles up the road is unmistakable. They begged Jesus again and again, don't send us out of the era, don't send us into the abyss, don't send us to the place prepared for Satan for 1,000 years, a place of literal undoing. The demons know their displacement is at hand. They know that Jesus has absolute power over them. In desperation not to be tormented, disembodied, or sent into the abyss, the demons suggest to Jesus that he command them to indwell the pigs. Perhaps this is the least awful of their possibilities. Note that Jesus does not in fact command them. The word there has a military overlay, but he permits them, and they go. Immediately the huge herd thunders away, and the pigs throw themselves headlong into the sea to be drowned, just like Pharaoh's horsemen and army in the Red Sea. Again, water in Jewish thought underlies the idea of undoing, chaos, the unmaking. Now, here's an interesting thought. At today's yields and prices, this herd represents, ready, about $1 million in meat. You ever thought about that in terms of this story before? In anybody's book, that's a huge loss. And no one is apt to take that lightly or just shrug it off as a business loss. No big deal. Never mind the animal rights angle, though that would not likely have been an issue with them or in that day. But here's another contextual clue to what's going on. Beyond just another demonic deliverance story, these pigs, their owners, keepers, and markets are all part of the machinery of Roman oppression. Aside from being unclean and therefore unfit for human consumption by Jewish standards, the herd is an investment in the Roman occupation. We might like to think of the pigs and pig farming, oh, it's just morally neutral, it's just business after all. But we know in our own time, the degree to which the choices and decisions of economic norms become the scaffolding by which systems of injustice and oppression are built and maintained. No more so than when any one poor swineherd has no real choice but to raise pigs to feed Caesar's army. Now, it might be enough to weigh the lives of 2,000 pigs in the balance against the liberation and restoration of one human being. But the lineup of details and connections, I think, is too unique, too pointed to allow for that to be all that's going on here. The pigs are important. The Roman legion is important. The pigs are important to the legion. The pigs are important to the story. In fact, the name the man gives, legion, is too profoundly connected to the Roman occupation to be mere coincidence. It is, in fact, I think, the crux of the story. So more than just a miracle of casting out a whole bunch of demons, this story, get this, would strike chords of political positioning among any and all who heard it in the mid to late 1st century in the Levant. Think of all the things that happened in and around that area with the Jews, with the Romans, with the 10th Legion. Those would have been recognized. So this is not just a story about pigs or demons or storms, but it's a story about empires and hegemonies over systems of oppression, occupation, and exploitation. And perhaps this is just a glimpse of the judgment that is in store for those who twist and abuse systems, markets, industries, governments, economies, so as to subjugate honest working folk or even military troops to enrich themselves and concentrate power. The empire trapped both the occupied and the occupier. I'd never really thought about that before. But the swineherds and the soldiers were all caught up in the same web of control. Another takeaway is the transformation of this possessed man. They call him the demoniac. What a great title to be stuck with forever. But moments after being tormented by 6,000 demons, he is found clothed, calm, and in his right mind. The change terrified those who knew him as much as he did in his delirium. Their response was not relief or compassion, but fear. Fear of one who could so radically alter their reality as they understood it. They didn't bother to understand Jesus. They didn't even challenge him over the loss of the pigs. They just said, go away. Go away. Whether they were too comfortable, too complacent, too conflicted to even look at Jesus, we don't know. But how many people in our own day cling to what they know and just tell Jesus to go away? For Jesus' authority is, we see here, absolute. But it's also a two-edged sword. Jesus has authority over demons and storms and unrestrained chaos, and yes, even nations and rulers and empires. If he can cast out 6,000 demons, he can deal with your stuff. Amen? But the other edge is this. He also has absolute authority over you and over me. But it is only if we embrace this authority joyfully, willingly, knowingly, that authority will become for us the comfort, protection, and restoration for which we crave. That's what the man who was delivered found. Unlike the Romans, Jesus does not force his authority upon us as much as sometimes we would like him to do so. The demons understood his authority, but from the wrong side. There's one more thing that occurred to me as I was thinking about all this. Indwelt by 6,000 demons, this man was so undone that he was literally destroying himself. Living among the dead, he was in fact, in so many ways, himself already dead. This is what the demons do. They unmake. They kill, steal, and destroy. But I got to thinking, the undoing of this 6,000 demons is nothing compared to the weight of the sin of all humanity. We see what the weight of the demons did to this man. What of the weight that Jesus bore on our behalf on the cross? More than 6,000 demons worth. And make no mistake, Jesus bore this weight in his humanity, not as some comic book superhero. That's really important to get. In this man's torment, we see just a glimpse of what Jesus endured in physical human flesh. We see in the effect on the pigs what chaos, what havoc, what unmaking that unbridled evil can wreak. And Jesus bore all that and more for our sake. But we also see that Jesus has authority over that havoc. Jesus has authority over the storms outside as well as the storms within. There is no evil, no havoc, no temptation with which Jesus is unacquainted. As the writer of Hebrews says, since then we have so great a high priest, one who has passed through both heaven and hell, even Jesus, the Son of the Most High God. Let us hold fast to our confession. For we have not a high priest who is unable to sympathize with our weakness, but one who, in every respect, has been tempted, tortured, tormented, even as we are, yet without sin. Therefore, let us, with confidence, draw near to him, draw near to his throne, that we may receive mercy and find grace to help in our time of need. Jesus is Lord over all we see, all we are, all we face. As we embrace his authority, it will become for us the comfort, the protection, the restoration for which we crave. Let us give thanks for that. Jesus, thank you that your authority is absolute, and we never need to fear anything beyond that authority, but we need to properly fear that you are righteous and holy as well as loving and forgiving. Teach us, Lord, to live in harmony under your perfect authority, not as slaves, but as people set free. Let us be found in ourselves, clothed and in our right mind, enjoying your company and hearing your call to go among our own people and share the good news of what the Lord has done for us. In his name we give thanks, Jesus. Amen.
It's not bad.